To the beautiful women out there, how many times have you heard that the reason why you're single is because men find you intimidating? Today, we say, well, fuck that shit. I'm kidding. Well, kind of. Today, we'll talk about how we can personally deal with those toxic thoughts. In the past years, the voice of women have been stronger and stronger. Today, people are more aware of the inequalities we've experienced, and we're acting on it. But we're not there yet. In all honesty, I am very lucky compared to the horror stories I hear. But it doesn't mean that I didn't question some of the things I was taught to learn when growing up. In today's podcast, I want to share with you some, and emphasis on some, of the toxic thoughts I was told growing up as a woman or a girl, what it really means, and how we should deal with it if we encounter it. Quick disclaimer. First, I am not here to rant or to rehash the past, but more of to share with you how we can manage these thoughts and if we encounter them. Because at the end of the day, usually the people who tells us these things actually mean well. And if they do say it to criticize, well then fuck them. What's important is how emotionally mature we are to face those thoughts. Second disclaimer, this quote unquote toxic thoughts are considered toxic to me and my overall beliefs and life principles. It's not in any way toxic to everybody. It could just be me because I'm a middle child and I need this. Well, let's get into it. First, toxic thought is what I mentioned during the intro. Maybe men just find you intimidating. I heard it a few times. They usually say it in the context of me not having a boyfriend or even when I'm in a relationship. They say it because they're concerned why I'm still single, and I guess their solution is to change who I am. I don't blame them too. Like my loud, booming voice has been an issue before. The first time I heard it was from an ex's mom when I apparently was more focused on my career instead of his son. When I heard it, I kid you not, I kind of believed it. Because isn't finding the right partner in life one of the best parts of living? Shouldn't we focus on that rather than being a slave to a company I don't own? I was 21. What did I know? He cheated on me anyway, so I broke up with him. But I guess everything fell into place. Could not be with that mom in law, Jesus. I heard it again though, because I've been single since that last ex, and they said maybe the reason why I'm single is because I intimidate men. Thankfully, I was more self aware about my strengths and capabilities, and I realized that I'm not intimidating. I'm just an acquired taste. The same way we have a certain taste in people, you like someone who's an extrovert or who are taller than you or someone who is stable in life. In my head, me being intimidating can be seen as strong, as independent, and all I need is to find my match. We just need to be more self aware. If someone tells you that you're too loud or too intimidating, instead of agreeing or disagreeing, stop and think about who you think you really are and how you want to be perceived in this world. And if you do decide to change, then I hope you do it because you believe it's for your own growth and not because someone said so. Take everything with a grain of salt and learn that no one is out there to get you. Toxic thought number two. If you give him what he wants, then he'll lose interest in you. A little background for our non Filipino listeners right now. In the Philippines, we have a very unique concept of dating. Men have to court women, and by courting, I mean pick them up in their houses when they go on a date, be in their best behavior at all times, or be introduced to your parents and seek approval before even being in a relationship with them. Again, quick disclaimer, not all Filipinos, not all Filipinas experience this. I'm just saying generally. And during this entire charade, women are pakipot, a term we use to describe being hard to get. Which brings us to our toxic thought. If you give him what he wants, then he'll lose interest in you. This is usually in the context of sex, but it could also be in terms of approval or a kiss or even a simple text message. This for me is a toxic thought embedded in a lot of Filipinos' minds growing up. And I personally also had a hard time unlearning this. Whenever I went on dates, I was always so scared of giving away too little or too much. I was always so scared to do something because it might scare him away. In the context of sex, as Catholics, we were taught to wait until marriage. If you're one of those people, I 100% salute you because I do admire you. If you're like me and gave away your flower, then I hope you did it, or will do it for yourself, and not because someone told you to or forced you to. Giving it to someone does not make you any less of a person, nor does it make him better for taking something away. If for someone he or she lost interest because you gave what they wanted, then you deserve someone better. If you do encounter this toxic thought, please know that we should always value ourselves first and in the highest pedestal possible. Identify what you want in a relationship, and if giving him what he wants is exactly what you want to give, then isn't that a good start to a great relationship? If you're confident as a woman about your needs and values, then you deserve to find someone who has the same principles, and no one should tell you otherwise. You can't do that because you're a girl. Toxic thought number 3. Growing up with an older brother is great. Shout out to my kuya if you're listening. If not, I'll send it to you anyway and force you to listen. He taught me to be tough, to drink more than men so that they can't get me drunk, and to not let other people step on me. But I do remember being incredibly jealous and mad for not being able to do what he's allowed to do. This ranges from not doing sleepovers to not going out with my friends to not drinking or just simply not going out because it's dangerous to be out there as a girl. And apparently, that's okay if you're a boy or a man. This is the one thing I didn't accept, even as a young woman. It was hard for me because I could not understand why. Why can my brother do all of these things, but I can't? And if their biggest concern is me being impregnated, then shouldn't my brother not be allowed as well? They have the same stake here. My parents are trying to protect me, and they are amazing parents because of that. But instead of following, I rebelled and sneaked out in the middle of the night. I was young and immature then, but as I become more mature, I started communicating to my parents more about my reality, about how I perceived life and how independent and strong I am to handle myself and my needs. Our parents, our elders have lived a different generation, and they just care so much about us that they try to shelter us based on how they grew up. So it's our job to let them know how we want to be treated and how important it is to make our decisions. Fourth toxic thought: you're eating too much or too little. I grew up overweight, but at 15, I lost around 50 pounds or 23 kilos. So I did grow up with always having a constant toxic thought from people around me saying that I'm eating too much or too little. This for me was the most damaging of all. It affected my self confidence and my ability to have a healthy relationship with food. Even without this experience, women all over the world experience the same because of what we experience growing up or what the media tells us. But then, on the other hand, we glorify the dad buds. Don't get me started. But it was hard for me to hear this growing up because as a teenager, you never really know yourself. So I didn't know if I needed to change anything. I was easily triggered with anything concerning weight and food. But let me tell you one thing. I decided to lose the weight myself, and with the help of my mom cooking the right food with the support of my family, I did lose it. I decided because, well, I wanted boys to like me, which is normal at that age. It took me a while to love myself and not give a fuck if someone told me this. Since the past years, I've been working out every day, and I think it was only then that I realized that food is fun and it should not change how I value myself. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is so important to know who we are so that we can love ourselves and in return care less about what other people say to us. Whatever the reason is for saying this, know that what's important is how you see yourself and how you treat yourself with love and care. Fifth toxic thought. Jesus, that is a tongue twister. Toxic thought. Fifth toxic thought. Working hard and being successful will make you happy. Growing up, I remember being measured by grades and test scores and academic awards because this means that it will bring you great job opportunities and thus making you successful. So that's exactly what I did. I was an honor student, always top of the class until I got kicked out of school. Let's talk about that next time. And yes, I got into great companies. But here's one thing that was not mentioned: Does it mean that I will be happy as well? Does being a top student and then getting a high paying job make you fulfilled and content in life? Would I rather have a high paying job and 0% social life? I think we all know the answer to this. As we go on in our lives, we realize that there are so many things more valuable than a job. We need to redefine happiness and success in our own lives, that we start taking risks because we believe it will make us happy. And if not, then get up, get back up, and fight again. We're too scared to go outside the norm. And when doing so, will probably be the most worth it thing you can do in your life. I'm not saying to stop studying and achieving high grades. Jesus, absolutely not. I would still encourage to do so because it has taught me great things and opened a lot of doors for me. What we want to say is to just simply reevaluate your definition of happiness and success. If it's a high paying job, then amazing. If not, then go out there and figure it out and get it for yourself. I had to unlearn this too when I started my own company with Roxy and when I moved to Germany. So yeah, it took me a while, and I wish someone has told me back then too. So that's why I'm telling you now. Six, toxic thought. You should act more like a girl. Can't believe how many times I heard this growing up, because I was always a little boyish. I wore loose pants, rarely wore makeup, would drink like my brother, would curse like a sailor, would not be scared to stand up or fight with guys. I think it was because I grew up very close with my brother and his friends. And maybe subconsciously, I thought it was the way to be liked by men. So more often than not, people would tell me to act more like a girl, to speak more softly, to drink less, to stop getting tattoos or piercings, or to dress more girly. Back then, I wasn't affected much by it, and I actually liked that I was different than the other girls I know. It just started to annoy me when it again came back to why I was single. Maybe this is a middle child syndrome, but I've always had a desire to be different. And maybe that's why I like being a little boyish, because studying in an all girls Catholic school, then I would be cool and different and unique. Instead of surrendering what society told me to do, I continued to be who I wanted to be. I wore makeup but wore jeans and sneakers. I am tattooed but would wear girly dresses. I am a girl, and I decided I can be whoever I want to be as long as I treat the people around me with kindness and respect. I unlearned that you need to act like a girl to be a girl. This again goes back to self-awareness. If you feel like dressing up like a boy today, fucking do it. Stop doing things for other people or to do things because it will piss them off. Do things because it can either positively affect other people or would genuinely make you happy. The seventh and last toxic thought is that lighter skin is better or you're exotic. Foreigners must like you. I am in no way dark. I have brown to medium brown skin. But in the Philippines, I am considered dark. And back home, being dark is less attractive than having lighter skin. This was part of the Spanish colonization, but that's another long ass story 333 years to be exact. So instead of appreciating my own skin, I believed what people told me. Stop going out in the sun or get some whitening cream or I am maybe meant to be with foreigners. I never heard that I had nice skin. It was just dark and that wasn't a compliment. I do understand where they're coming from though, at least when I got older. They just define beauty differently and that's okay. I guess just growing up with it can also set the pace for my own standard of beauty. I had to unlearn that dark skin means unattractive. And if I only get foreigners to be attracted to me, then so be it. At least I had my market. I was so privileged to meet several people around the world. And that was the time I realized that people actually aim for the color I have, and I don't even have to do anything with it. It was only then that I realized I am lucky to have such nice skin color. And if someone doesn't like it, well, that's just their type. What started as a toxic thought turned out to be something I'm proud of, and it isn't what we want. And isn't that what we want to achieve? To be able to turn a weakness or a difference to something greater instead of pointing out our differences and focusing on it. Try taking a look at what at what you think makes you a 10, maybe then you'll realize how beautiful you are inside and out. Before I end this podcast, I do want to share some learnings that was common in all of the things I have unlearned with these toxic thoughts. First, we will hear a lot of things growing up, even now, actually, most especially when we are exposed in social media. Don't take anything personally. If someone tells you something that you don't believe in, take it with a grain of salt and fucking move on. Number two, same as everybody, we all have our pains. Try looking at the other person's shoes and understand that they are who they are and they don't aim to hurt you. Number three, be more self aware. If you know who you are, then you know how you want to be treated. Then communicate that in the best way possible. Number four, love yourself without being a dick. Self care and self love is key to confidence and better self esteem. We are all beautiful in our own way, and we just need to find it without being an egotistic maniac. And lastly, I just want to share with you one of my favorite books. It's called The Four Agreements, A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom by Don Miguel Ruiz. I really like this book because it literally gives you four practical tips on how to advocate freedom from self limiting beliefs that may cause suffering and limitation in our lives. So I think, and if it helped me, I think maybe it will help you too. Thank you for listening to the Unlearning podcast. Let us know in our social media what toxic thoughts have you unlearned growing up. I would be curious to know. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.